how we anticipate things playing out. So construction completion late 2027. And I do want to note the project does include a federal funding contribution. So it's funded jointly with the province and the federal government under the New Build Canada Fund. And so with some of the project delays that we have experienced, it is very critical that we do complete the construction by late 2027. Our federal funding obligations do have some end dates that we do need to complete the construction activities within. So that is another key driver to really get the project done and completed. So the project includes several construction complexities, which I think are important to just lay some of the groundwork before we get into the construction strategy overall. One of the activities that I want to highlight, and this is one of the first activities that a contractor will likely undertake, is to generate and place approximately 30,000 cubic meters of material at the East Bridge abutment to allow this area to preload over a period of about 3 to 6 months. So that's what we call a critical path activity. It needs to happen early. It can really set the stage for the overall duration of the project. So we do anticipate a contractor wanting to get in quite early, generate that 30,000 cubic meters of material on site and get that placed at the East Bridge abutment. We also have throughout the project area and primarily on the west side, multiple retaining walls that will need to be constructed along Highway 1, Old Sicamous Road, and for the bridge. Some of these retaining walls are up to 9 meters in height, so quite high, quite complex to construct overall. One of the key activities, though, that we do have within the construction area is the need to undertake a pretty significant amount of blasting and material management on the west end of the project. So west of the bridge, as you can imagine, there's a big sort of rock face in that area with the existing highway and then the rail to the north. And so we do have about 200,000 cubic meters of material in that area that we will need to blast and haul away. We have a ministry pit that we've identified as a potential site for the contractor to take excess material generated by the project. That's up just on sort of the north end of Mare Lake. It's just about 5 kilometers from our project site area. And so with that 200,000 cubic meters of material that will need to be removed, and that's really to widen for the new 4-lane cross-section of the highway. There will be a lot of blasting that will need to take place in that area. And each of the blasts will typically take about an hour from start to finish to set up the blast, undertake the blast, and then after that, the contractor will need to clean up some of the material, undertake scaling, and then subsequently truck that surplus material off-site. And so one of the complexities we have is we are not able to undertake a blast when a train is passing through on the rail. And as many of you are probably aware, the passage of trains in the Sicamous area is not scheduled. It is sporadic. It is quite unpredictable. And so one of the pieces we've really had to work through is how do we create an envelope or window of time for a contractor to effectively set up for a blast, communicate with CPKC rail, perhaps wait for passing trains to allow a big enough window that the blast can take place, and then we can clean up and then start to move some of this material off-site. And so what we found is that closures of very short durations would likely result in a situation where a contractor would be prepping for a blast, getting ready to go, possibly missing that blast window completely with trains passing, and then having to hold and wait till another future short duration closure when they could undertake this activity again. And so that was one of the things, and I'll get more into this a little bit, but that was one of the things that really guided some of the development and evolution of where we've landed in terms of a strategy is how do we establish effective windows that are long enough, not too long, to allow those activities to take place so we can get the work done and not draw our construction schedule out and still move things forward and keep things sort of in a predictable fashion so people can plan accordingly. So without getting too much into that, because that's kind of the meat and everyone wants to get there, I'm going to lay a little bit more groundwork and then we'll get into what this traffic management strategy will look like. So in determining the traffic management strategy, a key objective, I would say, was and is reducing the overall construction duration of the project. So as I mentioned, we absolutely do want to complete the construction by late 2027, or ideally even be in a position to finish sooner than that. Not only do we have the federal funding commitments to spend those federal dollars that are contributing to the project by that date, but also do not want to push the pain of the construction period into another season. We do really want to keep that shorter. And so that was, I would say, one of the really key drivers in determining this strategy is allowing enough contractor flexibility that we can get the work done and not extend further into additional years of construction overall. We also sought to develop a strategy that is consistent and predictable for both Highway 1 through traffic and also for local residents and businesses so that people can plan ahead. So as I was starting to kind of talk about earlier, didn't want a situation where we were saying to the public, the highway might be closed between 9 and 10, 12 and 1, 3 and 4. We're not sure which one. It's going to depend on trains. So like that was part of the strategy. How do we come up with a block of time that people can plan for and plan around so that they can go about their day-to-day activities, whether they're the through traffic or the local traffic moving amongst Sicamous. We also acknowledge that there are higher traffic volumes during commuter periods, so before 9 a.m. and after 3 p.m. in the daytime traveling. I'm aware of different individuals that are traveling from Sicamous to Salmon Arm and probably some of the other neighboring communities. And we see that with our traffic count. So that was another piece we identified, is that importance of the before 9 and the after 3, and really trying to allow for free flow of traffic as much as possible during those periods. The last piece really being looking at the peak tourist season. Certainly is a period of higher traffic volume along Highway 1, and also acknowledge that this is a period with Sicamous, having a lot of tourist activities in the summer months, a period where a lot of economic development activity is happening locally. So really, as we started to think about when might we implement some highway closures to get the work done, how do we craft those in a way that ideally looks to limit or establish a decent balance in terms of allowing those summer daytime in the summer months, those activities to really take place and try to minimize the impacts on the traffic during those peak tourist season times. Next, please, Claire, thanks. So based on these objectives, we've developed a strategy that does include that seasonal variation I mentioned. So differences between summer months, winter months, acknowledging those higher traffic volumes in the summer months, opportunities for the contractor to leverage some extended daytime and nighttime closures so that construction completion date can be achieved or ideally expedited, but really trying to hone those in to be the appropriate times or most appropriate times based on the knowledge that we have. And then also identifying an alternate route, so an alternate way of travel during those periods of a Highway 1 closure so that people can still travel, that the through traffic on Highway 1 can still travel and get through an alternate route. We do acknowledge there's some additional travel time considerations with that, but having an alternate path of travel for people that are traveling through along Highway 1. And lastly, the ability for the contractor to implement some limited short duration closures for some very specific activities. So we do have some very limited tree clearing at the east end of the project. We've undertaken most of the tree clearing. There's a small amount, so some small areas where the contractor might need to do some different things to get those types of activities completed quickly and move on. So this slide has a lot of information. I will try to explain this in a careful way that hopefully doesn't confuse everyone. Acknowledges a lot going on here. So overall, and in the top left-hand corner of this slide, I've sort of listed the allowable closure windows available to a contractor. And so I just want to note, and I'll go over what these are, but the contractor will need to submit a traffic management plan to our construction supervision team to demonstrate that closures are necessary to support productivity on site. So we don't anticipate that these closures will occur all day, every day, but we do anticipate that the contractor will leverage these closures as much as needed to maintain and/or expedite the construction schedule. And I'll talk a bit more about notification and information sharing a little bit later. So overall, We are planning to allow the contractor windows where they can close Highway 1 between midnight and 4 a.m. So that's year round, not seasonal dependent, but they would have the ability to close during those nighttime hours from midnight to 4. And then we have some variations between winter and summer. So during the winter months, the contractor would be able to leverage a daytime closure from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And again, as I mentioned previously, that window was selected really to avoid that peak commuter time before 9 and after 3. So trying to push that window sort of amongst those times so that Highway 1 is open for through traffic outside of that 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. window for the commuter. During the summer months, acknowledging that there are significantly increased traffic volumes on Highway 1 and also it being the peak tourist time overall, we're not allowing really truly daytime closures. It's actually an evening closure. So it's a shorter evening closure from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. So no 9 to 3 during those summer months. It is essentially just that evening closure, 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. So those are the tools that would be available to the contractor in terms of leveraging closure windows to undertake the work. And those the areas of the closure are primarily focused on the west end of the project and the bridge area overall. And that's really linked very closely to that blasting and material management activity that I mentioned earlier, and the need to balance those blasts with trains and achieve ideally the productivity that we need to get the construction completed. I'm going to talk a little bit just about how we're going to handle local traffic. So when the closures are implemented, there's sort of two pieces. So Highway 1 travelers that are basically looking to just continue on Highway 1, so say Salmon Arm to Sicamous or Sicamous to Salmon Arm, during the closure windows, that traffic, all the through traffic would be essentially forced through what we're calling an alternate route. And so that is leveraging the Highway 97 AB connector. And we do have some planned improvements to that alternate route that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So during the closure periods, all traffic essentially through Highway 1 traffic is forced to take that alternate route. For local traffic though, during those closure windows, we will require the contractor to allow local residents and visitors that want to or need to access Old Spalumsheen Road, Old Sicamous Road, Old Broun Road, basically the ability to come to and from Sicamous every hour on the hour. So at the top of the hour, the contractor will be required to accommodate anyone wanting to go out of those of Old Spal, Old Sicamous, Old Broun Road into Sicamous, and similarly from the Sicamous side back to their residents or businesses or wherever they may be going within those roads. So there will be a top of the hour flushing during that nighttime closure from midnight to 4, and also the 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. extended daytime closure that I mentioned. Of course, there will be provision for emergency access throughout the construction site. So those the top of the hour flushing is really for that local traffic. There's different provisions for emergency access. And then also we have undertaken some modeling to do our best to estimate what the additional travel times might be along the alternate route during the periods of closure. And so you can see those on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. So we do anticipate during the winter daytime closures, so the 9 to 3, an additional 20 to 30 minutes in travel time along that route because of the higher volumes on that alternate route overall. And then in the evening closure, the 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., a bit longer. And again, that's because we do have those higher traffic volumes in the summer months. So 30 to 45 minutes of additional travel time during those periods. During the nighttime, really minimal impact because we don't see those same significant traffic volumes overall. So if you go to the next slide, Blair, please. I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the planned improvements to the alternate route. So we do have some signalization changes planned at the Highway 197A intersection, and that's obviously related to pushing the traffic or forcing the traffic through during the periods of closure to the alternate route. We also have a temporary signal planned that would be installed at the Highway 97 AB junction as you get closer to Enderby. And so a temporary signal installed in that location, and also an extended eastbound left turn bay so that we have additional storage with the added traffic volumes in that area. We do also have some resurfacing planned at some areas along the alternate route, and there will be some additional signage that will be incorporated as well. So there will be advanced direct messaging signs advising of closures and diversions to the alternate route, as well as static signage that'll be in various areas overall. On the canoe side, so as everyone's aware, obviously if you're coming from Salmon Arm, there would be lots of signage as you leave Salmon Arm letting you know you can't get through at Sicamous, notifying travelers to take the alternate route, the 97AB connection over to Sicamous. But of course you could travel and continue to travel up towards Canoe and some of the residential areas all along that area. And essentially traffic, they'll have lots of signs that would continue to say that there will be no access through Sicamous, but essentially there is, and many of you are probably aware, a rest area and a bit of a turnaround location kind of at the top of the hill past Canoe as you get up closer to Sicamous. So at that rest area location is where the final stop would be, and traffic would essentially be forced to turn around in that location and head back. So they'll have access to all of the residences and so forth in that area, with that being the final turnaround point at that westerly end of the project overall. And similarly, we would have signage in other directions, obviously, as well, providing advance notice of the alternate route beforehand. Information sharing. So as I mentioned, advanced warning signs, static signage. We will also be communicating planned closures through Drive BC, the Trans social media channels, and our Bruin Bridge project website. The contractor will also have requirements for early notification of the days where the closures are planned, because as I mentioned, the closures will not be all day, every day. They will need to be substantiated with productivity on site. And so the contractor will need to provide at least 4 weeks notice of planned closures. And so we would be putting them up on those information portals at least 4 weeks in advance of the overall plan. And then the contractor does have some ability to make changes. They can make changes no more than, has to be at least 1 week in advance of changes. And so if someone is planning a trip, they can look and find the latest and greatest information. We wouldn't have changes in, that are less than 1 week from a date of travel at any point. And that really comes back to that predictability piece that I mentioned, so that people know what to expect and can plan accordingly. The only other piece that I didn't mention was we did also look at longer sort of multi-month closures, similar to Kicking Horse Canyon. Obviously didn't want to go that route in the interest of just pushing productivity and getting schedule done. We do acknowledge that there's impacts with this, where we've landed on this too locally, and really have tried to strike a balance in terms of balancing all of the local needs to the greatest extent that we can, but also the need to get the construction underway, get the construction completed, and ideally just get everything done so that Sicamous can enjoy the new infrastructure and along with the Highway 1 travelers, and obviously get in and out in a shorter duration if possible. So with that, I will open it up to questions from council if that's appropriate. Colleen, or hand it back to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for the presentation. Yes, it's while we're super excited about the new Bruin Bridge and moving forward, it's complicated and there's lots of moving parts, and got the train to deal with. We've got blasting, we've got commuters, traffic. So I'm going to open it up to council to start with, and then I'll go to the gallery for questions. So council, if you want, Councillor Rich.
Through the chair. Thank you for coming and doing the presentation, and appreciate how thorough it is. And we are excited about the bridge. One of my questions is MOTI working with the RCMP? Sicamous members come from Salmon Arm, and we also don't have coverage 24-hour in Sicamous, so they come through Salmon Arm for that coverage. And that 1 to 4 time period would be a time where we do need coverage here in town, and an extra 22 minutes. It's a long time if you're waiting for the RCMP. So I'm wondering if you've spoken with them, and then to follow that up also, will we have extra coverage to manage Highway 97A? That road is pretty windy and teeny, and there will be a massive amount of trucks on that road, semi-trucks. Trans-Canada, right now, it's 4-to-1 for cars for trucks. And will we have extra coverage trying to manage that? Because it's going to be pretty dangerous with all that extra traffic.
Really, really good questions. So we have engaged with RCMP on an ongoing basis throughout the project phase. We do have some more specific conversations, obviously, to have with them around some of this now that this is all cooked and so forth. However, even within our construction documents, we do have contacts within the RCMP that are listed, and those are the same folks we've been engaging with for that ongoing communication and so forth. And emergency provisions are obviously handled a bit differently too. And there is language and requirements for the contractor to work to accommodate those in emergency situations. So we do have that at play. The other piece I didn't mention, and I think this does start to fall into some of your question as well, is we do and have written into our contract the ability for the ministry to put the contractor on notice if they do need to reopen Highway 1 within an hour's notice or less. And so that is so that if we do have any incidents that occur on the alternate route, we do have a tool so that we can force the contractor to reopen Highway 1 during those periods, so that we don't get stuck in a situation where we're essentially stuck either way. We do also have some long haul commercial trucks that the majority can make it through the alternate route, but there are some of those wide load type vehicles that we will need to accommodate during very specific hours in the nighttime. So there is some activity that's planned, and we've been working through with CVSE to work through those permit holders to accommodate those vehicles too, because they do require special accommodation with some of the size constraints and so forth. So there are some pieces we've been working through that way as well.
Thank you. Councilor Bushell.
To the chair, yeah, thank you, Jennifer, for all your information. It's going to be a daunting task, but it'll be nice when we're done. I have a whole bunch of little comments and questions, and you indicated resurfacing the alternate route. Are you going to resurface the entire route?
Blair, do you have the specifics in terms of like the extent of the resurfacing area, or Megan? I think it's a pretty significant portion of it, but not the full overall. Not sure if Blair or Megan can speak to that.
Yeah, my understanding is Glenrod to Sycamores as the section that's been focused on.
Sorry, this sounds really bad. Can you?
Glenrod to Sycamores.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, because I took some photos of Highway 97 this past weekend, and there's a lot of undermining going on. Just on the other side of the guardrail, or part of the guardrail. So, I know you guys have been doing some geotechnical work, but it's just, there's quite a few of those sections that look like that picture on site, and a lot of that used blasting rock you have, maybe you could use to shore it up. But anyways, that was one of them. When you're doing the resurfacing, is there any way you could squeeze some turning lanes in, like really important intersections? We have so many in town, but like Capel Street's really important because it's a tight corner, and when you start getting all of Highway 97 or Trans-Canada traffic on Highway 97, we're going to have a lot of traffic stops, because as soon as if somebody wants to turn, they can't make those important turns because there's no stacking. There's no room for stacking of vehicles. So like at the landfill, when you go to the dump, it's a very busy road, and there's no room for stacking there, and it just bogs it right down. So I was just wondering if you guys had, could you make any turning lanes with the excess of the shoulder on Highway 97, in Sycamore, so we could get people at least out of town. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand completely. So in terms of the improvements that we're making overall, there was a lot of work that was undertaken in terms of traffic modeling to determine what was and what we believe to be needed to accommodate the additional traffic volumes. And Megan, I don't know if you want to expand on that any further, just in terms of any details. But I can say that, you know, the improvements that are recommended and are being implemented came out of that review. So it's, you know, we've done the work with our engineering teams and our traffic teams to understand what the impacts are of this traffic strategy and recommend and implement those improvements based on that work.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, just with all the blasting truck going to Harvey Pit, it would be, there'll be a lot of trucks going towards 2 Mile, and a turning lane there would be really important for sure. And then it's a little bit late, but it's unfortunate. Maybe we could have used all that blasting rock to shore up the rail trail. Because, I mean, it would have been an easy side dump if we could have put that stuff back on the shore of the Mirror Lake, and you wouldn't have had to go through town and up to the 2 Mile pit, but I think it's a little late now, but anyways, those are a couple of my questions, and then the over width, I had a couple of the marinas call me in regards to Highway 97 only has a 10-foot or 10'6" width or something, over width, and some of those people are concerned about hauling boats and not being able to use Highway 97, so thanks for looking after that.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. And I think too, just on the surplus material, once we have a contractor on board, again, we can't prescribe means and methods, but there's nothing preventing folks from, you know, approaching a contractor and sort of having discussions about some of those things with surplus materials. So there could be some possibilities there once procurement is complete.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer.
Thanks, Jennifer. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, so I guess just a two-part question. You don't have a contractor yet, but according to the timeline here, you're gonna start September 15th. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's our approximate sort of guesstimate date. That's correct.
And when do you think you're gonna be releasing who the contractor is?
So right now, our published tender close date is August 1st. So if we don't have any further extensions to the construction tender, that would be the close date.
Okay, I guess maybe just final question, how realistic is that? I mean, it's 2 months away. It sounds like you have to do some resurfacing on the alternative route. So I don't quite know when that's gonna commence. But is this a realistic start date of mid-September?
Absolutely. It is. Yeah. And again, as I mentioned with the schedule, like we absolutely need to get this awarded and get the work started. So we can get this complete by that late 2027 completion date. So we are on track to do that.
And it just, when are you going to do the resurfacing work on 97? Does that have a start time or start date?
Megan, can you help me with that, or Blair?
I don't remember the exact start date, but I believe it's in the fall, and it's required to wrap up by the end of October.
Sorry, Jen, you're gonna have to.
Yeah.
She's
It's in the fall. The resurfacing will happen in the fall, and it will wrap up by the end of October. And the temporary signal will go in over the month of August. So it will be completed before a contractor is mobilized on site.
Just one.
Go ahead, Councillor.
So, just so I can get this right, we're gonna be doing the resurfacing at the same time that we're gonna be doing closures?
So that obviously we'll be coordinating that so that we're not resurfacing during those closure periods, because we wouldn't want to be going down to single lane alternating on the alternate route during the closure period. So they would happen outside of those closures.
Thanks.
Councillor Beach.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, thank you very much for coming with all this information. There's a couple of things that kind of really concern me. And well, all of us, I think, and it's reading about what's going to happen last week and the fact that we were already supposedly consulted, and now we're hearing all this stuff now. My question to you is, it would be really, can we have some specific consultation on what needs to be done on 97? For instance, at the Capel corner, the crossing at the other end of the straight stretch, to be able to manage this level of when the closure's on and the traffic's being rerouted, there's a lot of concern about the amount of traffic, the number of semi-trailer trucks that are having to go down that road. You've already heard a councillor say that the road itself, the bank is kind of wearing away on the outside. We have noticed that along the lake. So I really feel that the consultation hasn't been done adequately with our community, with the people who know the traffic on that road just as it is now in heavy traffic periods. Is it possible that we might have some specific consultation on that road and the points of concern before you get started?
I guess a few things. One of the pieces that we've been able to leverage as part of this is during the periods when the highway was closed during the wildfires last year, we were able to glean some pretty good data on what's happened, what's expected to happen during the closures of Highway 1, because we did in fact have the situation when the closures occurred. So we've leveraged that information along with all of the data we have to come up with this strategy overall. As I mentioned, I mean, part of the reason why this has taken us quite some time to develop is we did undertake a lot of work to review all of the data available, look at what we're seeing out there and do a lot of modeling to understand and really recommend what we believe is attempts to strike the right balance in terms of getting the work done in terms of the Bruin Bridge construction activity and trying to limit the local pain on the community. I can say, you know, those pictures that were brought up on the screen, those aren't a surprise. We're very aware of those. Those are being actively monitored and looked at. And there's different pieces of planned improvements outside of the Bruin Bridge project to address some of those pieces as well. I don't think Eric's had the opportunity to join, which is unfortunate. He's our district manager from the ministry operations team, but he is very in tune with all of these pieces overall. And the district has also played a really key role in getting us to where we are here with the traffic strategy. So that local team and that local input. In terms of additional consultation, I mean, we'd be happy to spend some additional time with staff if that's desired to work through and talk through some of these specifics. Perhaps we could get Eric you know, from the district team and just have some additional subsequent meetings with staff might be a recommendation just to talk through this a little bit further. Be happy to do that.
Sure. Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, thank you. Just curious, how current is your traffic data? I think we did a traffic analysis about a year ago internally here for some other reasons. And it showed heavy volumes. I mean, off 97 turning right onto TransCanada heading east and coming off TransCanada turning left and heading south on Highway 97. Those are the two major movements and significant amounts. So just curious, how current, have you done a pretty recent traffic study?
It is recent, yeah. Megan, you could probably help me out with the years, but it's very recent.
Although no one can hear me, my audio is poor. I apologize. I believe at 97 AB that we have data from there from the last year or so. And then the TransCanada Highway is about 2 years old.
Jen, did you want to just translate that for us?
The data at Highway 7 is within the last year, and the Highway 1 data is about 2 years old.
Okay, thank you.
I'm good at reading lips, I guess.
Bob, go ahead. Councillor Evans, can't hear you.
Just, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Jennifer, thank you, especially for the thoughtful closures, especially in the summertime. You mentioned that emergency personnel would have access to the bridge when they needed it. So if it was the middle of the night, I'm assuming that you would allow a police officer to come into Sicamous that way and the ambulance. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, and there's direct communication chains that are set up within the contract for that communication to take place.
Got it, Bob? Okay, thank you. Council, any more questions? I'm going to open the floor up. Bianca, go ahead.
Jennifer, do you plan on reducing the speed going down 97B when that temporary signal is in? I actually live off 97B on that hill, and during the winter closures especially, that hill is dicey, to say the least. I've pulled a couple people out of the ditch there, so.
So we did look at the speed limits overall in terms of that study that was undertaken. And no, there are no plans to change the speed limits along the alternate route.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to open up to the gallery. Anyone? Can you come up to the podium, state your name, please?
Hi there, my name is Shelley Wheat. I live at 8548 Highway 97A. I have been doing my own research. I have contacted Drive BC, and I have received data from Drive BC for the last 4 years. There have been 255 major incidences on the road stretch of 38.2 kilometers between Sicamous and Enderby. Of that 255 major incidences, 67% of those are car accidents. There have been 9 fatalities on a stretch of highway of 38.2 kilometers long. I drive that highway every day, as well as Councillor Kelowna, and I am very concerned about the speed limits. At my intersection, on average, the speed limit that travelers are traveling is between 70 and 90 kilometers per hour. That is going through a residential area on Highway 97A. I have found research that is available that there are over 6,000 cars traveling on Highway 97A. The data comes from an August 22 study. Those numbers are a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and the average is 6,000 cars in the summer on average on 97B. At the intersection of Highway 97A and 97B, the volume of traffic is 7,500 vehicles at that same data point, August 2022. If there is any further data that Jennifer can supply, I would be happy to receive that. I have made a FOIP request to the Ministry of Transportation for this information. I would like to ask Jennifer what they plan to do with the fact that we have had a significant death toll on this stretch of highway. 67% of all major accidents or incidents are accidents which result in a full closure or a partial closure of 97A. And this could all occur whilst the Bruin Bridge is being closed for access. I am very concerned as a member of the public that there has been no consultation with this council and with the community on the amount of traffic that is going to be forced down 97B. And I would like some further information. And frankly, we stated that there was a traffic modeling completed. I think the council needs that traffic modeling information. I see some heads being nodded in the room, and I think that should be available for public consultation as well. Those are my comments. Thank you. Oh, I'm also happy to share my data with anybody.
Thank you. Jennifer, do you have any comments?
I don't think I have anything to any feedback to provide. It's unfortunate Eric wasn't able to make it today, but you know, as I mentioned, happy to undertake some additional meetings with the district operations staff, with Sicamous staff, and we can also talk through some of that that traffic data and analysis as well. There is an email address on our Ministry of Transportation Bruin Bridge project website as well. So happy to entertain any direct emails in that regard too, if there's more specifics as have been discussed in that topic there too. So happy to sort of leverage some of those other avenues as well for some direct communication.
Thanks, Jennifer. Is there an opportunity at this point to lower the speed limit on that road? Like
So speed limits are, that's something that the district, so Eric's team is really the approver and the body that makes those types of decisions in close consultation and with advice from the traffic team. So, I'll note that I'll take that back. I do know, obviously, we'll be doing a lot of monitoring during the construction phase of what's actually happening out there and that sort of thing. So there will be active monitoring to watch for things that, if there's things that seem out of whack as compared to what we've anticipated and that type of thing. So that will be occurring as well. But Eric is a key to sort of helping answer some of these questions. I apologize that he wasn't able to make it today.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the gallery? Go ahead, Janet. You want to go up to the mic, please? She won't be.
Hello, Jennifer. My name is Janet McLean-Samt. I'm Executive Director of the Support Society here in Sicamous. It's an organization that provides social supports to the communities. We work with lots of local families. So we certainly had some concerns. First, I'd like to say thank you for addressing some of the ones I had, which were about policing, ambulance, access, those kinds of things. Our community also has a large population of seniors, not unusual at all to hear ambulances coming and going in the middle of the night. So that was as a benefit. But I think the primary thing that I was concerned about, like aside from what seems to be a lack of consultation, at least the people that I know hadn't heard very much about how this was going to work. Is just the numbers that I've been able to come up with from research that I've done. Now, I absolutely admit that when I looked on the Ministry of Transportation site, the closest thing I could find was 2016. But even at that time, the number of cars that were coming, was stated to be 12,000 daily, coming along Highway 1 going west through Sicamous. And 1,800 of those, or 15%, were our trucks, our commercial vehicles. And then in 2018, the city of Enderby, and then at a separate time, also in 2018, the Secwepemc community of Splatching did studies on the traffic going through Enderby, and they had also around 15% commercial traffic, but 18,000 in the winter and 25,000 in the summer going through Enderby. So those back. In fact, in the 2018 study that was done by the city of Enderby, they noted that the transportation estimates for the traffic that would be going through predicted for 2025 was already being met in 2018. And so I think for most of the people in the community, the concern is it's about mostly the volume of truck traffic, the risks, because there aren't, a lot of left-hand turns into the areas that many families live in. And I think the other thing is just when you try to get your head around what is possibly 24, even looking at the statistics at 15%, and from 2018, 2,400 trucks a day. That's 100 trucks an hour going through our community. It's such an astonishing number. I can sort of scarcely credit that it's possible. And while I know you do your homework, and I was really started waiting to hear how it is possible, I also had wondered, was there any, well, first of all, in addition to consultation with us, has there been consultation with CSRD, with the regional district, the North Okanagan, with the city of Enderby, with Splatching, because these are going to be big numbers for them to deal with each day as well. And then sort of in addition to that, had the idea of trucks needing to use like Highway 3 to go Calgary to the coast, or, not coming to this area, or closures where where the trucking community has to go through overnight, or I'm sort of wondering what, in addition to what work has been done, whether there were considerations. As I said, it boggles the mind, 100 trucks an hour, but thank you.
Thanks, Janet.
No, all really good questions and points. I think, we acknowledge it's not a perfect solution. I think we are quite lucky that we do have access to an alternate route. It's not a perfect alternate route. But I think the fact that we have the ability to divert traffic in this instance is a positive. It's the alternative is, and we've looked at this is another option we looked at, is closing Highway 1 and queuing traffic and what that would do. And as you can imagine, we would have pretty long queue lengths traveling right through Sicamous for an extended length of Highway 1, and it would be very tricky to manage the local traffic and cross traffic. So, we've looked at that and not forcing traffic down the alternate route. What does it look like if we queue? It does have bigger implications that are much more complex to manage. And again, as I mentioned before, really trying to find those timeframes when we're not working within those absolute high peaks. They're lower traffic volumes overall when we are pushing the traffic through that alternate route as well. So we're trying to balance all of the things. It's a very complex project. There's a lot of different pieces with gives and takes, and we've really tried to put the work in to seek the right balance to get the work done. It is going to be a bit painful. It's not possible to build the entire Bruin Bridge project with no impacts to traffic. If we were to leave the highway open, this project would take many, many years to build. It would go on and on and on. So we've really tried, I just want to emphasize, it's been a really tricky thing. We've looked at a lot of options. We believe this is the right option to strike that balance overall. Yes, we have engaged with CSRD. We have engaged with Enderby. We are presenting to CSRD directors on July 18th, the same presentation material as well. So yes, we are and have been and continue to actively engage on this, and really will continue with the information sharing during the construction phase.
Thanks, Jennifer. Steve, do you want to go ahead? Take a couple more and then we'll.
Hi, Steve Sellinger, 326 Mare Lake Lane. That's my home. The property that I live in is 65 unit condominium, which is frontage on Highway 97. I'd like to, number one, thank you for the presentation. I understand fully that this is a big thing. It's not just an easy little deal to deal with, but it's also a big thing, as Ms. Wade pointed out. The speed on that highway on 97 is extreme. The amount of fatalities and callouts by EMS is big. I watch them go by on a steady basis. I believe that if perhaps the speed could be changed, and another thing that would help, definitely. Another thing is a couple of council members, I believe, Mr. Bushell and Councillor Bailey commented on, is kind of the pre-planning. An undertaking like the Bruin Bridge, in my opinion, the pre-planning should have been 4 years ago, putting some traffic lights in on 97 or some left-hand turn lanes or whatever. The intersection that I use all the time to turn left to come into town to shop or go to the doctor or whatever, it's pretty much today's suicide to get out of there. It's on the brink of a hill. It's very dangerous. A council member, and I believe even the mayor, are aware of that because they live in similar areas. So with that said, would we not go ahead as in the planning process to do those types of things before the traffic was diverted? That's kind of my concern. To do it simultaneously is like, oh my God, what are we going to do? The stats were given already. I mean, I believe that to be true, and you people have obviously done your homework also, but there will be issues. We know that. I mean, we're all going to have to take a deep breath and slow down and, put your head on a swivel just to turn left. It's going to be bad. So I would hope that this would be taken in account of and, maybe looked at first. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Go ahead.
Thank you.
My name is Rob Ward. I'm a resident in town. I have one question about the speed on 97A. I'm wondering if it can be adaptive so that when the closure happens, the signs flip from the normal speed, 70 and 80, down to 60, which would certainly slow things down. The police presence has to be there, though, to enforce it, especially overnight. The other police presence question I have is about the jack brakes coming north on 97 in the town. You have 2 speed reduction sections, and truckers will use their brakes if they're not going to get a ticket for using them in town. So having a sign saying don't use them doesn't do anything. Thirdly, is the district going to enforce no trucks going through the Tall Tree neighborhood, the transport trucks, so that if there's a backup going up to the traffic circle, they don't go through the neighborhood between 1 and 4 in the morning, which would not really be a good thing for people trying to sleep there. And also, before a blast, is it possible to give an audible warning sound so that people that are out and about in town will know that there's going to be a loud noise coming? I know in some areas that I've traveled through in Ontario, when they've been doing blasting, they've had that to warn the residents. I'm not sure if that happens in BC, but certainly would help, especially with the seniors with heart issues. So I thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer, can you address that? Is there a notice of some sort on before the blasting?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll certainly take that feedback back to our team. Certainly it's a good piece of feedback there. And again, I think lots of comments for our district operations team. I'm making note of these and we'll communicate those to that team. So thank you for that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ruth Gibber. I live on Dogwood Avenue in Sycamoose. I just wondered what kind of considerations you've taken into account for pedestrians and bicycles. Are you going to put in extra crossings? I know that there is a light just past the traffic circle at Highway 97B and Highway 1. There's a light for pedestrians, but it only covers half the crossing. The other half, the pedestrian has to look, make sure there's no traffic coming, and then cross safe. So that system there is not good, especially if there's a whole bunch more traffic. So I just wondered what kind of considerations you had for bicycles and pedestrians. Thank you.
So our project limit terminates just west of the Highway 97 intersection. So we're not touching that intersection as part of our project. But again, I will make note of that and just share that feedback with our district team. As part of the project, we do have a 3-meter wide multi-use path separated from highway vehicle traffic on the south side of the bridge that goes all the way to Gill Avenue and actually turns the corner at Gill into Sycamoose. And then at Old Spall Road, which is now closed to Highway 1 post-construction, that area is used to bring pedestrians and cyclists down to Old Spall Machine Road and interconnect into the rail trail at that location. So we do have that multi-use path essentially from Gill Avenue to Old Spall Machine Road planned as part of the project.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. I think that's it from the gallery, but I think there are some takeaways that perhaps you and your team could have a look at. And I think there's probably some notes that we have made as well that we can share and regroup and maybe address some of those issues as well. So having said that, thanks, Jennifer, and thanks for being here today. This is going to be complicated. Ed's sitting in the gallery right now, shaking his head because he was here when they built the bridge and helped build it. So we have a pioneer with us. it's going to be complicated and it's going to be tough on our community for a while. So I think that is part of the process but whatever we can do to put safety checks in place and make sure if we can reduce speed limits and make sure that, we've got all of those things in place, then I think our project does have to move forward. Go ahead, one more quick comment.
Sorry, Shelley, wait again, quick comment is you did say that there was consultation. I'm just making a suggestion to council is, I've done a lot of legislative review in Alberta. I am a lawyer. Why isn't there an ongoing consultation committee that's propagated by members of this council so that it can address ongoing issues? Because we're anticipating issues, but we know we're going to have issues. It would be nice to be able to have a council that could go back to the powers that be. I don't get the sense, no apologies, Jennifer, that Jennifer's not the person, but Eric might be. For the purposes of addressing the angst within our community about a massive amount of volume traffic that's going to go down 97B, and it's going to be different depending upon the season and the day and the week, and certainly when closures happen because of the preponderance of accidents on 97B. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Jennifer, maybe that is a question that can be answered and shared with us as well. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I really want to get moving on. Councillor Hardwick.
I think the answer is that we've had several presentations, but most of the time the presentations are telling us what's actually happening. I, as a counselor, been here 2 years, I haven't been consulted. So, that's been the process. And a couple of years ago, we were told that it was going to start in 2023. Now we're September, but it's been a one-sided conversation even for us. So I want you to understand that.
Yeah, thank you. Siobhan, did you have something quick you want to add?
Yeah, just through the chair. Jennifer, I don't know if we can get a commitment from you to have Eric follow up with the speed limits. That seems to be a massive concern. I think for me, that is a huge concern. And I think for everybody sitting in this room, it is, I know he was unavailable, but if he can either follow up with our staff, and that's something we can put out as a council and let people know where we're at with that, because that it's us out there, it's our kids out there, it's our accountant out there. So we want the speed limits down. And this is from people that travel this road every day. So maybe we can have a commitment that Eric will follow up with us.
Yeah, sure. We'll certainly chat with Eric, and we do have an FAQ portion on our website. And so what we can do is get we'll talk with him and we'll chat internally, and we can get some additional FAQs posted in that regard too, just so that all the information is in one place and consistent and people can find it.
Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Okay, we're just going to move on now. Shuswap Tourism. Morgan, take it away. Morgan Matheson is a team leader for the tourism and film for the Shuswap area.
Hello, everyone. You have some material I'm hoping to hand out, if that's all right with everybody. Before I get started here, just a little reading material.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Morgan. You're welcome. Come. Trip over anything else?
Am I using this guy here?
I'll just move it over. I don't.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay, great. Well, thank you all for having me here today. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate being able to come here and speak to council and members of the community about Shuswap Tourism and what we are doing this year. Yeah, so first of all, I wanted to quickly just recap what our 2023 year has looked like. And sorry, just to briefly pause to give you a little preamble of what I'm planning to speak about today. So I'll briefly talk about our 2023 annual review, what we had done last year, and then as well as just some of our what we did during the fire situation last year, and then as well as looking forward and what we're doing in the future. So first let's start off with our 2023 annual review. We will start with a couple things that had happened. So we had definitely saw a need to update our website, which was a major project for us last year. If anyone has gone onto our website recently, you'll notice that it has been completely revamped. A couple of things of note with our new website is that we are doing all of our business listings throughout the entirety of the Shuswap through TripAdvisor. So if you have a business that's a tourism-based business or accommodation, and if you are on TripAdvisor, you will be listed on our website. We wanted to have a one-stop shop for our listings for our businesses and our community. Another thing that we also have on our website is that we saw that there was a much needed need to have a regional events calendar. So right now, Shuswap Tourism is having our events calendar span the entirety of this Shuswap. We realized and saw that anytime you're trying to find something to do, whether you're a local or a tourist, you're looking in several locations, whether that be Instagram, Facebook, websites, just to know what's going on for the weekend or during the week. So right now we're accommodating that by having as many events as we possibly can have on our website in one spot. So right now we're really excited to have that and see how many wonderful things are going on in the entirety of the community. We also every year, as you know, we do a lot of guide development and distribution. So last year, our experience guide was really well received. We also do obviously we do a lot of social media, and one of the social media, and I'll speak to this a little bit later as well, of note is we had this one called Have a Local, Plan Your Vacation. And we used a really great social media influencer company, and we were able to garner a lot more reach. Generally, when we use influencers and those types of media procurement people, you see generally a blip on the radar. However, this one, we tried to do something a little bit different, a little bit new, try and staying with the times and get more eyes on the Shuswap. We were able to create this series in a different way and use algorithm to get organic reach and not have to use paid reach. And so as of this date, we have seen over 3 million interactions on this campaign. And the thing is, we still see interactions on this campaign to date. So not only was it really effective during the initial launch of the campaign, but it continues to be effective. And that's one way that we measure the success of our campaigns and the people that we use to establish some of our marketing programs. Obviously, last year was a major year in terms of fire. And so we were very proactive in this response. Shuswap Tourism operates out of the CSRD building, so we have the EOC right there. And my colleague Stephanie, she also gives up her marketing role in the tourism and our tourism office to go do communications or help with communications in the EOC. So luckily for that, I have a very close relationship with what's going on in our EOC and our ESS. And so we're able to keep in close contact. However, that being said, Shuswap Tourism is not your go-to spot for emergency communications. That will definitely be filtered through the Shuswap emergency program. So my job as a tourism entity is to at least let people know where they can and cannot go during their vacation. So this area of the Shuswap is closed, but you can still visit this area. It's perfectly safe. And so that's definitely been a lot of our messaging, a lot of know before you go messaging. We also had to pivot a lot of our fall content. So what we did was we partnered with all of our interior DMOs. So working with the Thompson Okanagan Tours Association, as well as working with all the other DMOs down in the interior. So we were able to get on board with this Travel Now to the Shuswap campaign. Basically it was a Travel Now campaign. And so we're able to hop onto that and had tremendous uptake because the entire region, all the way from the Shuswap, all the way basically down to Osoyoos, was using this same Travel Now campaign. So we got a lot of traction on that, which was really great. Also helped with putting out impact surveys and collecting the data from that. So we have data sets from not only the BC Economic Development Association, but also with the Thompson Okanagan Tours Association with their impact study as well. Slide. And so now we're looking forward a little bit into 24-25. Apologies. If anyone has any questions about last year's updates, I mean, those are high level things ongoing. We do have a lot of other smaller projects that we do throughout the year. So if you do have any other questions, please feel free to stop me at any time and ask a question. If not, I have a time at the end of the presentation for questions as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving forward to 24-25. One of the ways that we stretch our budget at Shuswap Tourism is that we get also some funding from Destination BC. We have a very close working relationship with Destination BC, and a lot of our projects are intertwined with a lot of what they're doing, because that only helps our community, because of Destination BC is promoting it. They will often use some of our assets to be able to promote the province on the world stage, which is really exciting. So a couple of things that we do is this co-op funding. So basically we cost match our dollars to be able to stretch our budget, to be able to do more projects throughout the year. And so what that looks like is, so this year we were doing a lot of photography, videography, written content, guide production. As we all know, printing costs are, getting quite expensive these days. And so being able to have the province help cost share with us is really beneficial. Not only that, but when we do a guide production that aligns with the branding of Destination BC, what that does is it helps us look like the official guide of the province. So there are other communities that do use the Destination BC branding. And so that is helpful. So when you're, say, like on a ferry or at a visitor center in Alberta or Washington State, you'll see a bunch of visitor guides that look very similar. And that's on purpose so that it looks like the official Destination BC guide program. Which we are part of. So so we're really excited about that. Again, with the photography, video, and written content, we are mostly doing a lot of our content for shoulder season and off season. So looking at some of our, specifically here at some of our great winter content, as well as summer content, and our off season content as well, working very closely with the lovely Carly Precision and getting stuff together for all those kind of things. So next slide, please. Another one of the things that we work with Destination BC is with our consortiums. So consortiums basically are a group of a specific industry or geographic group that then we're able to promote to these specific industries or within these specific industries. So the BC Ale Trail, obviously that has to do with beer and also cideries. So we've been doing a few different projects with them, including a sip and stay campaign, as well as refreshed video content, which we're really excited about, which will be launching coming towards the fall. We're looking to do some Ale Trail promotion while the BC 55+ Games is here to gravitate toward that sort of content. One of our longest standing consortiums is our Golf in BC consortium. And as we all know, this is one of our very important consortiums. We do have a lot of really beautiful golf courses here in the Shuswap. I mean, that one hole at Mirror Lake is definitely one of the most picturesque holes ever. And also the fact that you can boat up to the golf course is a very, very unique experience that, we made sure that we promoted just because, the Shuswap and Sicamous are very much boat communities or boating communities. So being able to combine boating and golfing just seems like just such a win for us. Another thing we do within our golf consortium, which is all of our championship golf courses. So that's Mira, Shuswap National, Salmon Arm Golf Course, Talking Rock, as well as Lakeside in Blind Bay. We do a golf trail press promotion every year. So not sure if anyone has purchased one this year, but definitely keep your eyes out for next year because they are a fantastic deal. So being able to offer a round of golf for someone at each one of these courses and being able to use them over 2 seasons is a really popular thing. And we've been seeing the uptake in these golf trail press promotions increase year over year. So we're really excited to see that because not only does it generate visitorship, it makes people want to create a whole vacation around their golf paths, right? So that's one of those experiences that people will base an entire vacation on. So that's something that we definitely see as important and target. Lastly, in our newest consortium is the BC Bird Trail. So working with Carly here in Sicamous, as well as our Salmon Arm Economic Development to create a consortium between the 2 communities about the really amazing birding opportunities that we have in our communities. And it's interesting because, I never thought birding was such a massively popular thing until I moved to the Shuswap several years ago. And, you see these people out there with those massive cameras and the fact that, people do come to this community, to Sicamous, to Salmon Arm, to come and do birding and see the unique birding that happens and the migration that happens here is really incredible and something that I'm really excited to learn more about and be part of. And so we've done a few things like influencer trip that just wrapped up. We actually also collaborated with Tourism Vernon on this one as well to create an interior sort of like cluster of bird trail activities because they are also on the bird trail, and being a very close neighbor, it makes for a really great cluster for people to want to come and say, okay, I'm going to go do birding. Look, I can do birding in these 2 communities. So it really helps to bring people to the community. Slide, please. So the emergency communication preparedness, I already touched on this earlier with some of my updates from the 2023 plan. But as you see in front of you, the documents that I have there, so that is something that we have been giving out to businesses and at committees and meetings, just to make sure that, we're all nervous about the season, and we want to make sure that people are prepared. So having this workbook is really helpful for a business owner. And it's not just something that you read and you can put on a shelf, you can actually write in it, and it's really helpful because it just makes you at least think about what kind of things you might want to think about in terms of like what you have for your business, how you're going to, what you're going to do in an emergency situation. I highly recommend looking towards the end of that. There's a really great bullet points about communication. So sometimes people, they have all their emergency contacts, they have all their stuff together, but at the end of the day, how are you going to communicate what's going on with your business during an emergency? And that just doesn't necessarily mean a fire, but it could also mean slides. It could mean even just smoke, which we do have to think about sometimes. So being able to communicate to your clients and customers has your business hours changed. Encouraging people to rebook during the shoulder season and things like that. So things to think about are really helpful to have from that thing. So another thing that we've added to our website is an industry page. So on here, you'll find a lot of links, including a link to that workbook. That's a PDF that then you can print out and anyone can take a look. So we do have the industry page. If you look at our footer on our industry page, it's listed right there. So you can click on that, and we have a lot of really great stuff for people, for the community. So not only these links, but also a link to our annual review. So if you do want to take a closer look and I didn't happen to have enough to give to the gallery here. So if you're interested, it's posted there, as well as we do event sponsorship for this year. And so we do have a small amount of funding that can go help towards small costs to hosting an event. So that is on there as well, and how to get listed on our website to make sure people know what to do. And yeah, so that's the industry resource page. And this one is one that I'm really excited about. It's just launching this week. So if you head to shuswapgrown.ca, you will see that we have launched a farm gate project. So what we are doing is we are highlighting at farm stands at the end of driveways. Currently, this project is in a pilot stage. This year, we're just having it in Area D, which is Falkland and Salmon River Road and Yankee Flats Road, to see how the project's going, to launch it, assess how well it's going, or if there needs to be improvements. So yeah, so really excited about having this project come to fruition, because I think as a region, we have tremendous agritourism potential. So this is just one of the many projects that we're excited to start. So yeah. Here, I won't go into every single one of these, but these are basically the things that we have going on a yearly basis. So all the things that kind of fill in the gaps. Couple things that I will kind of highlight here is, so also in your package that I gave to you, there's a couple things. So fishing in BC, I have a lot of resources here. I mean, Sicamous is a tremendous fishing community as well. So there's a couple links and contacts if you're interested in any of those fishing programs from BC Fisheries. So feel free to pass that information on to anyone that you think might be interested, and really happy to support anyone that would like to host a program such as a Learn to Fish program, which is great for places to help people learn how to fish. And then also a rod loan program. So being able to offer somewhere that you're able to go and borrow a fishing rod for a day and go fishing with your kids, maybe while you're camping or while you're visiting family for a week or on your vacation here for several days, or even while you're heading out on a houseboat. Borrow a rod. So yeah, so that's a couple of the interesting things with the fishing group. And let's see, yes, and again, we have also partnered with Sicamous here and Salmon Arm for a Stay and Save promotion. So Sicamous and Salmon Arm with their MRDT funds are helping with the Stay and Save program, which is a tremendous program that we're hosting on our website, so that there's one central location to be able to promote, Stay and Save in our shoulder season. So basically, we're offering a 20% discount during the shoulder season from mid-September to mid-October. And so what is great about the MRDT funds is that they're supporting our accommodators by having the 20% to giving the 20% off to the customer, but then filling that gap with the MRDT funds so that those accommodators don't have to give the promotion, like the 20% off themselves, which is really great. And I think that's that for right now. One thing I'm also really excited to promote, and happy there's so many people here, especially people in the gallery. So this year, we are doing one of our big campaigns is a Welcome Back campaign. One of the things that we had noticed during the fires was that, you know, the power of the collective whole. So the power of people sending out a singular message. Although last year, unfortunately, it was about something that was tragic, and but unfortunately, what came of that was the media saw that, and they saw this collection of images. And although the truth, but the truth also is that it didn't decimate everything. And so I think that was a lot of messaging that was challenging for us to overcome, especially in that shoulder season, because with the you know, the emergency ban on coming to BC and all that stuff, it created this mindset that, oh yeah, no, don't go to the Shuswap because it's all on fire, when in fact it wasn't all on fire. And so what we saw was that because so many people were posting about it, and everyone is trying to do their best and they want to put out as much information as possible with the best intentions. So what I would like to try and encourage is, let's do that again, but let's welcome people back to the Shuswap. Let's say, hey, you know, like, yes, we did have something happen last year, but you're welcome back. Businesses are still open. We're still open for business here in the Shuswap. Welcome back to our community. So we thought welcome back was a lovely message. We have heard a lot of, we want open for business messaging. Open for business messaging is great. However, it's been really well used. And so we thought, let's try something a little bit different. So let's welcome people back to our restaurants and our experiences. Let's welcome people back to our community and our beaches and our trail systems. So what we have done over at Shuswap Tourism is where we've created a bunch of things that are available to everyone, including everyone here in the gallery as well. We have links where you're able to download from a Google Drive. So we have all of these images free for everyone to use on their own social medias, as well as the logo there that says welcome back to the Shuswap, as basically a image with a transparent background, so you can put it on your own images. We've also released a few of our own images from our personal gallery to allow people to put these on their websites, because again, as we said, the voice of many seems to get through. And so if we use all of our collective voices, that could be really powerful for our community and our region, to get the message out that yes, we want you to come back to the Shuswap, and we want you to come back to Sicamous and enjoy everything that's here. So yeah, so really excited about that. The welcome back with the QR code is also specifically for businesses. One thing that we subscribe to at Shuswap Tourism is a program called CrowdRiff. And so CrowdRiff is basically a user-generated program that scours basically Instagram and Facebook for specific hashtags that mention, you know, Shuswap or a few different things. And so it pulls up all these user-generated photos. And what we also can do is we can have people upload photos for something specific. So what we want to do is put these in our businesses and encourage people, because what we've noticed too, again, lots of noticing of how people are using content, is you'll go to a restaurant, for example, and you'll have a great meal at Moose Mulligan's or Old Town Bay Marina. And so you'll take a picture and you'll be like, oh, look at how beautiful this is. This is amazing. I'm so excited. And you may put it on your own social media. You may send it in a group chat to your friends and family. But generally the businesses don't see those. And businesses are so busy these days. And for them to go and have to take content themselves all the time is a daunting task. And I hear you and I get it. And so what we would like to see here is have these in businesses so that people can use this QR code and say, share your experience, share your picture of your lunch, or share, you know, your experience on a houseboat, or walking around downtown, or being on the beach, or on some of the trails, or at the new pump track. And so what it allows it to do is it uploads to our specific CrowdRiff program, and then it asks people to give us permission to use their photo. So then we have permission to use their photo. And then what we will do with that photo is we will post it to our website, and we will tag and collaborate with those specific businesses that or areas that the picture is taken. So then basically it saves people's time and energy in getting their own content always, but giving people back their user-generated content that they may not have time for, may not always receive from people. So yeah, so basically that's that. The hashtag is welcome back to the Shuswap, or just welcome back. And please use that. If you see those QR codes in the community, please use them. Please upload your photos as much as possible. If anything, please always just use Explore Shuswap and we will see your photos. So yeah, so this is just a part of a larger marketing campaign that we're really hoping that everyone can take and make their own. And so, yeah, really excited to promote that with anything. So yeah, and that's it in a very quick nutshell. I think I rambled through that one really quickly. So appreciate your time, everyone, and thank you. And let me know if you have any questions.
Morgan, thank you very much. That was awesome. Council, any questions? So I guess I do have one more oh, sorry, Gord. I know, I'm sorry, I missed you. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for everything you do and bringing, tourism and people to Shuswap. And I was on the Rocky Mountaineer last fall, and it's a different perspective of being on the trail, and Campton brought it to my attention today. But when you're on that train, I don't know how many they have. They have a lot going through every summer, but it's a lot of Europeans, a lot of people from Europe and all over the world. And it's a captive audience, and you're going slow, so you get to see everything fairly slow. And I always thought about, the sign that's close to the railway tracks. That's, said welcome, welcome tourists or whatever.
Yeah.
But it would be if you could come up with the right caption or the right saying. There's a lot of people on that train that will, every time you talk to somebody on that train, they say, gotta come back to this area. They just love, the Shuswap. Everybody you talk to on there. So it'd be nice somehow on back or welcome back or something like that on some kind of signage on the railway, because you're sitting in those cars, you see the sign from a mile away.
Yeah.
You actually get to read it because you're not going that fast. So it's
Well, thank you for that. That's a really great suggestion.
but anyways, thanks for.
Thank you.
Councilor Beach.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and I'm looking through the material here, and I just have a question, and wildfire, of course, is huge. It's been sort of in our face, very scary for a lot of communities. We are a lake water community, and most of us are. I mean, let's face it, we all draw our water from lakes. So I like the way you handled the wildfire adaptation. We don't want to frighten people and turn people off with these things, but I guess I'm wondering, we have another pretty critical issue we are concerned about that has to do with our water, and tourists are a huge piece of the need for education on that, and that is the invasive species and that coming into our lakes and our rivers through fishing and all those things. It's not in your material. I understand that. I don't know how you would want to present it, but the wildfire adaptations is very gentle, but it's a very clear message. And I guess I'm just wondering, we're okay now, but to prevent it, we need people to be aware. And I'm just thinking every possible way that we can get this information out to people who are putting boats and equipment and in and out of water. We need to get it out to them that this is something they need to be aware of, is transporting that invasive mussel. And I'm just asking, I don't know how you would incorporate it and still sound really excited about tourism in BC.
Well, thank you very much for that comment, and I do appreciate that. And it's definitely something that's on our radar. We are working with the invasive species group regarding some campaigns, because that's incredibly important to us. And we realize, yes, we live and play on the water. It's so important. And those invasive species, not just the mussels, but the other invasive species as well, is also really important for us to get a handle on. So I think that, you know, we are in preliminary conversations with the invasive species group and looking at this from a larger perspective. I'm also a board member on the Thompson Okanagan Tourist Association. So as an entire region, interior region, we're looking at this not only from like the Alberta border all the way down to the US border, which I know is like really concerning down in that area as well. So we are on it. We are looking to try and I mean, we don't have any projects officially done yet, so I don't want to like go into it because really we're in the preliminary stages of talking about doing a campaign. We understand that, you know, 8 out of 10 people actually do use those check-in points. It's great to really focus on how we can help those last 2 or 20% of people that aren't doing that. I think a lot of people, there's messaging out there because a lot of people think it's just their boats, and it's not just their boats, it's your standard. Anything that has still water needs to be the drip drain dry. All that messaging needs to be put out, and I would love to be able to work with this community as well as all of our other lake communities in figuring out what we can do. I mean, one thing that I kind of think is really interesting that we could maybe take inspiration from is the life jacket program, right? Every boat launch has a bunch of life jackets there. To make sure that you have life jackets to make sure your children float. And so is there messaging that we can have at every single boat launch that says, have you done this? If not, this is what you can do to mitigate the issue. I mean, that's for a larger conversation and one that we're thinking about, we're definitely thinking about, because you know, tourism is a huge economic driver of our community, of our whole region. And if we lose the lake, that's huge. So thank you for your comment. I appreciate it. And we are working on it, but would love to, you know, maybe talk offline about it.
So thank you, Morgan. Thanks for your presentation and thanks for being here today. We appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on here. We've got a 3 o'clock in camera to get to. So we are Scott Builders Construction Update. So Kelly, are you taking that away?
Yeah, through the chair, I'll keep it brief in knowing we've got a few more things on the agenda and we're out of time. So this is a new project update. Everybody can go by Main Street and see what's happening. They've poured the slab, they've started the retaining walls, all good. For the month of July, we'll start to see some structural steel to be installed, which is exciting, and more of the retaining wall around the building done. The biggest risk still is we've got 20% of the project complete in terms of construction. Risk is material delays, which we're on it. We've got some change orders that we've approved. Just punching some numbers prior to this. So there's $400,000 worth of change orders. However, good news, 250,000 of that is a credit to the interior. We just were moving some interior over to the exterior, and 40,000 relates to some solar paneling, which we're using a different type of grant money to get, and have a credit, which isn't applied here for the winter allowance, which we don't need. So we're actually 60,000 under budget right now with these change orders. I'm assuming there'll be more change orders and that will go up, but that's where we're sitting as of today in terms of that. Yeah, and then there's just pictures here. Nothing looking away. We're still on track to be completed in December, beginning of 2025.
Awesome.
Yes, a lot of interior decisions and work is going on right now behind the scenes. We'll talk. Yeah.
Thanks, Kelly. Council, any questions for Kelly? Okay, we're good. Sorry, Gord, did you have something? All right.
I just want.
Sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
Yeah, through the chair. Kelly, I just wanted to say thank you for all the work I know that you're doing on making sure this thing is going along as it should. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Okay, short-term rental business license applications, 326 Mara Lane. We're going to get an update from Nicole. Nicole, do you want to take it away?
Yep, through the chair. So yeah, I got a couple topics for today, and the first up, the last few months, we've had some delegations, both in support and not in support of short-term rentals at 326 Lake Lane, the Legacy. And at our last regular council meeting, we said that we would come back to the committee one more time, just to let the committee know the direction that will go based on legal advice for short-term rentals at the Legacy. So no decisions required from the committee or council today. It's just an update. So in our current bylaw, the property is zoned MUR2, which permits short-term rentals. As part of a short-term rental application, we ask for evidence that the short-term rental business is not prohibited by a bylaw enacted under the Strata Property Act. And for us, that evidence has primarily been receiving a Strata consent form signed by the Strata, acknowledging the Strata bylaws do not prohibit short-term rentals. However, the evidence can come in many different forms, including the Civil Resolution Tribunal decision that we all received. So our legal counsel has reviewed the decision and provided guidance to us, which confirms short-term rentals are permitted at the Legacy as a secondary use. So as part of the short-term rental application at the Legacy, we're going to ask for a declaration from the applicant where they acknowledge a short-term rental is permitted as an occasional or secondary use only. The declaration will help us with enforcement. The short-term rental is being operated more than a secondary use. And what we're suggesting is that if there is non-compliance for secondary use, the business license will be canceled and we'll request the province to remove the ads from online or wherever they're advertising. Like the rest of the enforcement that we do for short-term rentals, and really bylaw complaints in general, any non-compliance will be complaint driven through the bylaw department. And so we also have support from the province, like I mentioned, to pull ads. On top of the secondary use declaration, all of the other requirements for short-term rentals still apply, like parking requirements and fire inspections. I'm not too worried about the fire inspections. Not too many people fail that. And if they do, they can easily fix the defaults. But for parking, our bylaw requires one parking stall per bedroom. And we ask for a parking plan as part of a short-term rental application. And in other Strata applications, for short-term rentals, parking allocation is included on the Strata consent form, but we won't be getting that from the Legacy. So we will ask applicants to prove minimum parking requirements application by application like we do with the others. We just won't have that extra added comfort in the Strata consent form, which is fine. I connected just recently with everyone who had a pending application with us. There was some dated 2022, even before we started regulating, and 14 units confirmed they're still interested in a business license, and I'm waiting to hear back from a few more. And then after today, I'll follow up again with everyone and request the required information, including the parking requirements, as part of a complete short-term rental application. And then last, just want to add, of course, if the Strata bylaws change in any way, we'll review our business licenses accordingly. So that's an update.
Council, any questions? Council Bailey.
Yeah, so just want to touch on the parking requirements. So I guess how are you going to verify that? So it's a 3-bedroom unit at Legacy. They're going to need 3 parking spots dedicated just to the unit. That wouldn't include off-site parking or anything like that, right?
Through the chair, well, I guess all of the parking that's required for the short-term rental should be on-site, so off-street parking, yes.
Okay, and then just a quick follow-up on the, the first part there, that, so if we have, I guess, another issue like this that comes up in town where the Strata won't sign off on a form, this will be the process that we take with them as well.
Through the chair, I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, but yes, I did have an example of another Strata in town where they learned that they could only have 3 short-term rentals at a time, and that was because of their insurance. And that Strata just recently let me know that they worked through their insurance issues, and now they're able to have more than 3 short-term rentals, and so they've let us know, and we've continued to review short-term rentals there. So, I mean, I do hope that this may be a unique situation and not every Strata will require this, but it is a process that we could use if this is a problem in the future.
May I just ask, just to make it clear, just about what is secondary use? I mean, that maybe I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, through the chair, my suggestion would be 6 months or less.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Nicole. Do you want to go into zoning bylaw?
Yeah. through the
Number
chair.
1100/2024.
Next topic. Okay, so we recently learned of a procedural misstep in the adoption of zoning bylaw 1000. I'm going to go into details of how and when and where that happened in a future staff report. But in order to correct the issue, we're looking to adopt our land use bylaw in full at a future council meeting. And so on the advice of legal counsel, this involves picking up zoning bylaw 1000/2022, copying it as consolidated and pasting it into a new bylaw with a different number. And so there's a number of things to consider with this. Most importantly, we don't want to have a disruption to the current development applications we have in process. So right now we have a brief pause, I would say, or a gap in our applications where after the July 24th council meeting, we should have made a decision on all the pending development variance permits, bylaw amendments and rezonings that apply to zoning bylaw 1000. Because after that happens, just for clarity, so each time we do a bylaw amendment or rezoning, we consolidate it with the bylaw, which pretty much means that we update the bylaw to reflect what council approved. And so after July 24th meeting, we will make the required consolidations. And then after that, copy the bylaw as consolidated and paste it into zoning bylaw 1100/2024. And so this means zoning bylaw 1000 will be rescinded and replaced by 1100/2024. And there will be no changes proposed between 1000 and 1100. So if we want to make further updates to 1100, and I know we do because we have a little list of things that we want to address, we can, but that should probably happen at a later date because this is going to be the cleanest adoption of a new land use bylaw and no changes proposed. And then this should also make it easier for MOTI to approve as there'll be no changes for them to review as part of the approval. They've already reviewed zoning bylaw 1000. So again, in order to have as little disruption, legal counsel has advised that because the zoning bylaw is in line with the OCP, we should waive the public hearing for zoning bylaw 1100/2024. And in order to waive the hearing, and we've done it for a few amendments we're doing lately, we need to advertise it. And so we'd like to go to council for first, second, third reading on August 14th. Which means we need to start our advertisements just after the July 24th meeting and after the consolidations are made. Then we'll kick it over to MOTI for approval, and that has to happen after third reading, and then we can adopt tentatively on August 28th. If we don't waive the public hearing, we're looking at first and second on August 14th, public hearing and third on August 28th, and then adoption sometime in September at the earliest. And we just have a few developments that would like to see their development variance permits and rezonings before the end of summer, and that's why we're proposing first, second, third on the 13th or the 14th and adoption on the 28th. And then I guess this is just a heads up that legal counsel has advised us to do this as soon as possible, and recognizing that we want to have as little interruption as possible to the current developments. The longer we delay the adoption, the more vulnerable the district is to having the bylaw challenged. So the sooner we get this done, the better.
Thank you, council. Any questions? Councillor Bushel.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Nicole, when we were adopting bylaw 1000, I always wondered why it was called bylaw 1000. And being that our first one was adopted in 1999, I think it was, can't remember, it was bylaw 1999, I can't remember. It's called
103.
103. Is there any reason why you can't call it bylaw 2000, like the 2024?
Through the chair, right now, I think, as any department needs a bylaw, corporate services, yes, assigns us the number next in line. And right now we're hovering around the 1070s, and we wanted to pick something that was easy to remember. So we went with 1100. I guess we could go to 2000, but yeah, that's why 1100's been chosen. Yeah, we're close to that marker.
Thank you, just curious.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think this is a good plan. It's the fastest one to expedite this. And then I do agree that we have to come back and take a look at bylaw 1100, but at a much later date, I think. But so, yeah, good work. And I think that'll work as fast as we can. And we've had, I think, lots of hearings on bylaw 1000. So I think the next time we should go back to the public is when we are doing actual revisions, and that'll be later on. So, okay, good work.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on. Okay, so, Councillor McCabe, coal dust.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Don't have the agenda in front of me. Yeah, I just wanted to sort of have a discussion with council. There's some attachments there, if we can maybe bring a couple up. But it was discussed in 2018, and I've talked to a few people at the marine operators in the channel, and they're still seeing significant coal dust. So whatever CP is doing isn't effective in my opinion. So I think we should drill a little deeper into this and find out why it's not effective. Apparently they have spray stations in Sparwood and in Golden and in Chapin. Why aren't these spray stations eliminating the coal dust? Are they too far apart? Are the spray stations having mechanical breakdowns? Are they having problems getting the spray product? So some trains are being missed because lack of product or maintenance or malfunction in the spray bars. I'm not sure if these spray bars are automated or they're operated manually. They seem to be very high up off the train because you have double-decker trains going through with the sea cans. So I don't know if these spray bars are adjustable for the height, but they seem to be spraying at a pretty high level. So I don't know how effective they are covering the coal. Obviously not very effective because we have coal dust in our community. And the further you get away from the train, obviously the less there is for coal dust, but there is significant coal dust in the channel. I see it on top of houseboats. I see it on top of, I've personally seen it on top of houseboats. I see it on decks and condos that are close to on the channel. So it's not a hazardous material, but it causes property damage. And it should be addressed. CP is making money transporting the coal. It shouldn't be at our community's detriment. So I'm suggesting that we write a letter to CP and ask them, if you have three spray stations, why aren't they effective? Or is there a problem with the spray stations? Is there a product with the application rate? Is there a product with finding enough product all the time? Do they train once in a while for whatever reasons? Do we need another spray station, maybe west of Revelstoke, just before Sycamoose, west of Revelstoke and east of Sycamoose? Just for discussion with council.
Thanks, Councillor McCabe. Perhaps what we should do is direct staff to give Mike a call or set up a meeting for CP to come in and have a chat with our community. Councillor Bushel?
Through the chair, yeah, I agree with Malcolm. It's not, like I say, it's not an environmental problem, but it is a burden. I know we don't actually take our boat under the bridge when there's a coal train going under, because we have a cream colored upholstery. And one trip under there changed our mind in a hurry because we spent a better part of an hour and a half cleaning our boat. So it is a problem for the people that don't know it's there. It's really, they probably wonder. So I agree.
Okay. Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, so did you want me to reach out to Mike to see if he could come to a committee of the whole and we can have a discussion about it?
Council, is that your appetite? Yeah. So do you want us to make a motion?
Sure.
Direction?
Sure.
Make a motion that we ask the council to contact Mike from CP to come into a council meeting.
And
Go ahead.
yes, I support that and ask them to come prepared to answer some detailed questions, not just that they have 3 spray stations, but how they work, what the application rate is, are they effective? Are they planning another one? Or maybe we should ask them to be covering the trains. Lakewood covers instead of spraying.
Yeah, we can make it more detailed. We do have a letter to him already and he did. If we're gonna invite him now, could I get a seconder on that? Counselor Rich, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, let's keep moving here. Counselor Evans. You have rats that you want to discuss.
Yeah, I brought this up a couple of years ago. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I brought it up a couple of years ago. This is brought up because Ron Daniel at Askew's talked to me last week. Said a rat walked through the front door of Askew's, and he had to help remove one from the Looney Tooney store that had got in there. And this is just small anecdotal evidence of a big problem we have. We know that all cities are having a problem with this in a massive way. They've proliferated due to getting on trucks and trains and global warming. But the reason I wanted to bring it up today, I told Ron I would, I explained that we cannot poison them because then if birds of prey or other animals eat the rats, they would die as well. Can't have rare owls who eat rats dying of poison. But I'm asking the question today again, just to clarify, because it's been a while for myself and for the public. If I could ask our Director of Operations through the chair, if we still, I do think I remember that we used to have traps that were available to the public. If I could ask through the chair, Daryl?
Through the chair, we still are in possession of those traps, but they are baited with poison, so we are not using them.
Okay. Is there a way to use traps like that and not bait them with poison?
I can take that as an information request and reach out to somebody that does rats for a living and see what we can come up with.
Okay, thank you. And if I may ask, can we also consider kind of getting aggressive with this and bringing in Orkin with traps and getting some rat hitmen on the job or something like that? I'm just asking what council would like to do about this because it is a problem. I know that we've gone out of our way to do things like bring in the what's the word, guys? I'm sorry. What's that word? Composting. We're asking people not to compost in the yards, but to get the compost machines in their houses to do it instead. We're working on those things, but just wondering if there's any other suggestions.
Yeah, through the chair, I think, you know, what we've kind of fought back with was education. And it is a matter of cleaning up the compost and the fruit that falls and the garbage in the yard and the little holes in the side of the buildings. We're continually pushing out that information the best we can. I know Orkin is still in the business, whether they actually use a poison or not. I'm not sure if they do that. But I'll look into it.
So I guess my concern for a community our size, just continue to let the rats continue to the population to grow. I guess it's at some point, unfortunately, I think there might be a time where they will need to be poisoned. And if they're poisoned in cages, how would birds get to them, I guess is my question. So if we're got bait in a cage and they're dying in there, I mean, we're not just throwing them, we're obviously disposing of them or incinerator, you know, doing something with them. So I guess that's my question as to.
So the cages that we're using, I wouldn't really call them cages. They're more locations for poison to be safely put out so that other animals can't get at them. So the rats go in and they take the poison and then they go home.
So they can't be trapped.
Right.
Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, you should be careful about calling it poison because there's a lot of stuff that is absolutely not poison that does kill the rats, and it does not harm other animals, right? And there's a whole bunch of stuff that is approved by the BC government that allows that. So it's, you know, without getting too much detail, it stops their digestive system. So if a cat comes by and eats it or something else, it doesn't harm the other animal, and it's certified by the province. So I know this because we have restaurants, we do preventative programs as well. So I think there's a lot of non-poison but lethal routes that I think we can look at. There's a really good, actually, you know, New Zealand had some problems and they developed something where it's a non-lethal, it just kills the rat instantly, but it's non-lethal, non-toxic. And there is stuff that's coming out on the marketplace now that I think we could look at to help. And I'm happy to send you some information on it, but I think we can start tackling it without going the poison, lethal, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rich.
Through the chair. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say we need to be very careful with poisoning things because then they go and die somewhere and something else eats them, and they do, and that could be your dog. But there are different ways we can do it. And I think a lot of it is education, and maybe we need to, when people aren't controlling their garbage and compost and stuff, maybe that is a finding issue. I mean, honestly, the best way to kill a rat is the good old rat trap, and they're about $1 a piece. And the problem is you have to maintain them. You kill one rat and then you have to remove him, and then you have to reset it and watch your thumb because it will break it. And set it again, or set 10 of them. And rats are smart, and they will actually learn to avoid the traps. And so, you know, there's different ways, but that seems to be the best way. And I mean, the other thing, and you know, everybody knows I'm a big advocate of it, but if we work with our trap, neuter, release program in Sycamoose with our feral cats, because we do have a large feral cat population, they also maintain our rat population. The rats aren't going anyway. The trains are going through and the grain trains go through. So this is going to be a continuous, it's going to be a maintenance. It's not going to be an elimination program.
Councillor Bush.
Through the chair, yeah, I've been hearing more and more about rats and also raccoons, and I've seen a lot of raccoons on Riverside Avenue. So maybe, Daryl, when you're talking to the rat professional, you can ask them about raccoons as well, because
You offer the raccoon traps.
Raccoon professional.
Sign those out, and yeah, we lend those out.
you look like bears, actually, they're pretty big.
Councillor Beach.
Yeah, through the chair, I think there are raccoons around. I keep finding plants in the garden dug up behind the resource center, and it's, I think, who's digging up my plants? They gotta be raccoons, but I really feel that it's a multi-pronged way of approach that we need to take, and I think we should keep working hard at promoting the composting, the countertop composters, so that people understand that they have an alternative, really, really good alternative. I had somebody bring down a great big huge bag of composted dirt to the resource center, which we could really use in the garden. And so that approach we could be more aggressive with too, I think. So that's what I'd like to see.
Councillor Beach. Okay, so Daryl, you're gonna look into and working with Councillor Bailey and see if we can find this.
Sure.
We're getting information, sorry, getting.
No. I know lots about, pest control.
You offered.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyway, okay, so what I think we're gonna do is we're gonna skip council reports and we're just gonna go to input and community, just see if anyone's got any questions. We've got 10 minutes here, 15 minutes. So Deb, then Mary.
I will be real quick. So first want to say thank you to counselors and staff for all the help they gave me with the judges. Judges were wowed by all of the great things we're doing and the enthusiasm of all the people that we spoke to. We had a nice little serendipitous thing where I drove the judges by the new pickleball courts, and the pickleball volunteers were teaching Jamie's Kids Camp how to play pickleball, and there was one of the art board ladies there. So there was lots of good things there. I'm still thinking of doing a showcase project. I have till the end of August to do that. The judges gave me a few ideas on some things I could pull together, but that, not so much work. I want to take 2 seconds to recognize our super CIV volunteer. Oh my God, did she leave? Not a little fighter. Okay, I will do this. So Annie Mard was here the whole time anyway. Daryl and I have been talking about wanting to do something for her. So I'll give this to her and say thank you from all you guys. Now that Communities in Bloom is done, farmers market every Friday, show up. It's really important to the community.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, Mary, go ahead.
Yes, Mel, in regards to what you brought up about the flow drains, a couple of years ago, well, with cleaning out on decks at the condos, I mean, you just take a rag and it's black. So what I did is, I took some pictures, I noticed you had pictures up on the screen there too, and I gave them, to, help me out.
Mike, the CP rep?
No, Kylo.
Okay.
Great. Greg Kylo, and he's the one that informed me that we had watering stations at, which you all know. He said the problem is that they're doming, they shouldn't be domed. They have to be so far down. And he said, if you ever see any more domed ones, to take pictures of them. So you could check with him to see what else thinking about that. But I have noticed domed ones in the last little bit, but just didn't have enough time to go over and take pictures, so.
Thanks, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Steve, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for that. Now, Nicole, I just clarification on regarding your SCR thing for the legacy. One, you're recommending that the council review and look at asking for a declaration from the people who rent their units, stating that it's not primary use. Is that correct? That can be for primary use.
Through the chair, council isn't involved in the business licensing review. So it would be myself asking for that declaration. I'll review it.
Sorry, missed that. Sorry.
So council's not involved in the review of business licenses.
Okay.
They've been quite involved in the legacy because we've heard from both sides in support and not in support.
Okay.
So it'll be myself asking for the declaration and including that as part of a complete application package.
Okay, so it'll be staff then doing it. Okay, so the question then is, who and how will you deal with it? If like truthfulness and things like that, and proof that it's for the length of time stated. You're just gonna go let people sign it and say that's okay.
Through the chair, yeah, so everyone will have their own comfort levels signing the declaration. And then we'll enforce based on complaint driven. So if we hear that an ad has been up for a year and we have proof of that, we will ask for it to be removed through the province, and we are able to rescind the business license.
Yeah, simply put, I mean, I can do a stat deck to anybody at any given time and lie through my teeth if I so choose. That's just a comment. Like, we all have signed them, and maybe truthfully, maybe not. I don't know, but I'm just putting that out there. The second thing is yourself will ask for proof on parking requirements from the people who rent their suites, especially commercially. I mean, we've got people there. I think there's someone here, who has a company, rents under a vacation thing, has 8 units that he manages there. Parking is a huge issue. Our strata rules and bylaws now, the people, all these units, they're very lucky people like myself and made good deals when you bought, only are allowed to park in 1 parking stall right now at the legacy. There's rules that state you cannot enter P2, anyone renting a unit or whatever, there are second level of parkade. That's been in place for quite some time. So in theory, they have 1 parking stall for a 2-bedroom unit, but they call it a 3-bedroom unit because it's a den and it doesn't even have a window in it, which I think if the fire department looked at that closely would not be a good thing either. So who will govern that, the parking? Is that going to be up to bylaws, or you yourself, Nicole? You say council has no enforcement on it or anything. You're going to have to look at it, though, I would suggest. So that's something I think should be looked at. And my last question on this is the strata council support still required by the district of Sycamore
Through,
for short-term rentals?
yeah, through the chair. So for the parking, well, we ask for it on all short-term rental applications. They're required to provide us a parking plan. If you want to provide any information that says the strata allows these types of stalls for these units, that would be great. I would take that into consideration. And then we're open to other options too. It has to be off-street parking, and that doesn't mean that, you know, they can't have another area where people park. I don't know, as long as it's proven that off-street parking is met.
For sure. Yeah.
And then your second question was?
Well, my last question is the strata council support still required? As it stands in your bylaws right now?
Yeah,
presently?
through the chair, we did take a look at the language in the MUR2 zone that talks about strata support. And that for us is comes in many different ways, and that's the evidence. So the evidence was the strata consent forms, which we are not going to get from the legacy, but we do have the civil resolution tribunal that says it's permitted or not prohibited, and that is the support.
So you're saying the civil CRT says STRs are permitted?
Yes,
Well, that's-
through the chair, yes, because they've reviewed the strata bylaws and have come out with this decision interpreting what that bylaw means.
Okay. So even though the CRT in section 27, primary use of STRs is prohibited in section 27 of the CRT, I mean, I don't understand that.
So
That's how it should be.
we're not gonna, you know, if you have a quick question or we're in public input, then, yep, we just need to, we've got to go in camera here pretty quick, so, yep. And
So I guess the answer, what you're telling me then, Nicole, is that the district of Sycamoose does not need the support of the strata council to give for your licensing requirements.
Through the chair, correct, and I'll just reiterate that what we're relying is on the CRT decision interpreting the strata bylaws that do not prohibit it, and that is supporting it.
Okay, thank you.
thanks, Steve. Okay, we are going to move in camera, so we are going to adjourn this council meeting at 3:11. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Are you gonna hop on to the other Zoom link?
Thank you, that link.
Yeah, okay.
Little head up there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They are smart though.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Kelly, I'm going right into in camera now, right?
Yes.
Nice to be a call to order in camera.
Haven't been. Oh, no, I'm better. Last week I was like flat on my
Awful.